This evening I'm going to talk about Stephen King, the famous American horror author. I found some things interesting about his own life that I think are wild and definitely worth talking about, including those who have died around him, a bomb, a home intruder, his upbringing, and the list goes on. To those new to my channel, thanks for joining in, and to those already subscribed, I want to thank you for being here. With that said, let us examine the dark reality of Stephen King. At the age of 4, Stephen King was playing with his friend, and they lived next to a railroad track. King would witness his friend getting struck by a train leading to his death. Recalling this tragedy, King said, "The event occurred when I was barely 4. According to Mom, I had gone off to play at a neighbor's house, a house that was near a railroad line. About an hour after I left, I came back. She said, as white as a ghost. I would not speak for the rest of the day. I would not tell her why I had not waited to be picked up or phoned that I wanted to come home. I would not tell her why my chum's mom hadn't walked me back, but had allowed me to come home alone. It turned out that the kid I had been playing with had been run over by a freight train while playing on or crossing the tracks. My mom never knew if I had been near him when it happened, but I have no memory of the incident at all, only of having been told about it some years after the fact." 2 years before this, in 1949, Stephen King was just 2 years old. I'm sure some of you have heard the line, whether true or satire, of someone's dad leaving the house to go get a pack of cigarettes and never returning. Well, this is exactly what happened to Stephen King. In this circumstance, the event was true. King's dad casually told his mom he was going to the store for a pack of cigarettes and never returned. This caused the family to relocate to apartments and relatives' homes, living a life of virtual bartering and rarely seeing money. Now, we've touched on two things. His father was entirely absent now, and living in a stable setting was out the window. What else could happen next? Let's talk about his babysitter. His babysitter named Beulah, or maybe she was Beulah per King's account, was terrifying. While living in Wisconsin at the age of 4, his babysitter would tickle him with her bare feet, and then hit him in the head hard enough to knock him down, and then start tickling him again. This was to continue until a harrowing experience started with fried eggs. He quotes, "One morning, Beulah fried me an egg for breakfast. I ate it and asked for another one. She had a look in her that said, 'You don't dare eat another one, Stevie.' So I asked for another one, and so on. I stopped after 7, I think. After eating around 7 eggs, he threw up on the floor, and instead of her taking care of him, she became aggressive. She hit him upside the head and locked him in a closet. When his mom came home, she discovered the babysitter was asleep on the couch, and Stephen King was in the closet covered in his puke." He would move to different states up until the age of 11 when returning to the state of Maine. He discovered some of his absent father's boxes in his aunt and uncle's attic. Nearly a decade after his disappearance, he would find what he described as a treasure trove of old Avon paperbacks. Avon was committed to fantasy and weird fiction. He took the books with him, which was an H.P. Lovecraft collection from 1947 called The Lurking Fear and Other Stories. This could likely be an inspiring moment for King, as he had already started writing at the age of 6, and after discovering these bizarre books, he would curiously seek out things that scared him. But when asked if there was an event that warped him from his childhood that causes him to write the way he does, he says he can't point to any particular incident. At times he does mention losing his childhood friend to the train, and although he has no memory of the exact incident, novelist and psychiatrist Janet Jepson told him, "You've been writing about it ever since." Moving forward into his teen and adult years, Stephen became no stranger to drinking and trying drugs. He first drank at the age of 18 and overdid it, becoming violently ill. Unfortunately, it wouldn't turn him off from drinking more, as he became an alcoholic for the first 12 years of his marriage, claiming he just thought he liked to drink. During the mid-1980s, he developed an addiction for cocaine. While being high off coke, he would write late into the night under a numbingly high pulse. His wife pulled together an intervention with friends and family, and then gave him the ultimatum to get clean or to get out. He chose the right path by getting clean, and has been clean ever since. In 1977, King had a novel published called Rage. and it was written under the pseudonym Richard Bachman. This book has reportedly been an unfortunate connection to school violence going back to at least 1988, as the book is about a student who holds a classroom hostage at gunpoint. He has since described this book as unpleasant truths, and around the time of Sandy Hook, he decided to have the book pulled. The heading of the book read, "His twisted mind turned a quiet classroom into a dangerous world of terror." In 2013, he accompanied having this book removed by issuing his own essay called Guns, with an available synopsis on his website stephenking.com, with the essay being a novel available as an Amazon Kindle single. In 1991, a crazed fan broke into Stephen King's house. Stephen King's wife was home alone when a home invasion occurred, not realizing the intruder was there until he was already in the house. She was confronted by a 26-year-old claiming to be equipped with a bomb, showing it to her, and then showing her the detonator. This would be a terrifying moment to say the least. It was a 26-year-old man from Texas out for revenge. Mrs. King escaped by running to her neighbor's house and calling the police. When they arrived, they searched the house and discovered him hiding in the attic. The bomb was fake, and his reasoning to the press for breaking in was because Stephen King had allegedly stole his aunt's plot for Stephen King's bestseller titled Misery. The intruder was extradited back to Texas and sentenced to 2 years in prison. Speaking of Misery, the book was inspired and written after his own accident. Stephen King has a fear of heights and would travel to book signings with his motorcycle. On one unlucky day, he was hit by an oncoming van, seriously injuring him. The man who struck him was sentenced to 6 months in jail. After jail, the man was found dead in his trailer after an overdose of painkillers. This man's death just happened to be on Stephen King's birthday 1 year later. Stephen King purchased the man's van to avoid any fans buying it and making it a novelty. He fantasized smashing it himself, but ultimately had it shipped off to a junkyard to be crushed. The accident was gruesome. From a broken hip, scalp lacerations, a collapsed lung, and almost having his right leg amputated, he was prescribed painkillers for his surgery, sending him back into addiction, but ultimately overcoming it. At the pinnacle of Stephen King's drug addiction, he wrote Cujo, which he has no recollection of writing, and also the book The Running Man, which he had written entirely while on a drug binge and finishing it in 10 days. Out of all of Stephen King's work, he regards Pet Sematary as the one that haunts him the most, which stemmed from a conversation he had with his daughter at a young age when their dog passed away. This created the conversation about life and death, and his daughter wondering if their pet would come back. This became the influence in making Pet Sematary. This video may be the start of more. Give me a like if you enjoyed it, and let me know what you think below. If you're new and want to see some other stories, subscribe and hang out. This dark reality miniseries isn't out to make a subject or person look bad, or set any narratives. It's simply enjoyable for me to learn about these things myself, and then share bizarre and dark topics with you. I look forward to any thoughts or suggestions. I'll see you all soon. Until next time, take care.